It's a great honour and pleasure to be here, and as Billy said right at the very start, the conversations that we had last year when I first picked up the phone and spoke to Billy and said, who are the real sort of northern powerhouse champions and who are the people who are making a difference on the ground, and Billy and Sunderland Software City stood out by a country mile. And the relationship we've also had with Edtechnorth as well has been absolutely fantastic. It's helped to power a lot of our work around tech and talent and skills, but also just the actual, emotional support about getting things up and running. I know Edtechnorth has only been going for a short amount of time as well. We know exactly how it feels to get those things up and running. So I just wanted to very, very quickly just share with you, just to add a little bit of extra to our plans around Edtechnorth. We've mentioned some of the things about the size of the sector, but also what's it actually going to mean for you as a startup business, what's it going to mean for you as an education innovator working on the ground, how are we actually going to sort of turn that into a reality. So I just want to sort of share with you a couple of slides. Before I sort of go into that, what I'd like to do is just share with you that we haven't just kind of arrived in the digital space. Ty and I say we've been working together for 24/7 for the last 10 years or so, but we've done quite a large amount of work in the sort of digital arena. And it's that kind of breadth of activity that's led us to actually create this organisation called EdTech UK. It's based around a real digital pragmatism, not a digital evangelism that may exist in some places, some real reality checks about what really works on the ground. And so some of the projects that we've done have been kind of quite diverse. I just want to share some with you. Might give you some ideas and some thinking, but it's really shaped the kind of ideas that we've got about a way we're going to take things forward. And a couple of years ago, when we first started the Education Foundation, the first place we wanted to start was with teachers. And we also had a background in designing learning environments as well for the charity that Ty set up before. And so the first project that we created was called Teacher Lab. And it was a very, very simple idea. The place actually still exists, but it's something that we want to kind of scale, is actually having a safe space right at the heart of the school that teachers can use to test out their ideas in terms of professional development, with or without technology. I need to turn this off in a second as well. But having a safe space to try out new things in a safe space in a way that they can do across the system, rather than actually going out for CPD, is actually having something at the heart of the school. A couple of years ago, just moving things on, we created the first EdTech Accelerator programme. And the real focus on that was actually about building this EdTech ecosystem across the UK. And also a particular focus was supporting teacher entrepreneurs. Now, a lot of people talk about teacherpreneurs, which is an awful word, it's come from America, but the idea of actually teachers in the classroom having entrepreneurial activity for themselves, having a great idea, but then also having an avenue and a way to actually take that forward. They don't need to leave the classroom, they can actually work with other people. And so our first cohort was actually a cohort of teacher entrepreneurs who every week, over 10 weeks, actually came out of the classroom and actually either developed a product or developed an innovative idea in the classroom. We'll have to turn this off, which one
Is that tech?
Yeah, it's tech, yeah, sorry. It's Apple playing, doing what Apple do worse.
It's irritating.
It is actually really irritating, yeah.
I don't know why you bought it.
No, thank you. I didn't, so it's fine. So and then we were also then asked to do a piece of work by Facebook. And I think this is not just about the present, but this is also about the future. I think one of the things that we learned from doing this project, which was about the use of social media in the classroom, was the schools that we were working with blocked Facebook, blocked social media as a tool for learning in the classroom. So the very first thing we actually had to do was to convince the leadership team, the governing body, to actually unblock it and to have Facebook used and other social media as a tool for positive use in the classroom. What we also then found is that there's some amazing activity that's going on in colleges and higher education. We met Lou through this work as well, and just the amazing way that education innovators are using the tools, free tools that are out there to support learning. We wrote a couple of reports, so there's a couple of reports on our website, one about technology in schools, one about technology in colleges. And the interesting thing about the policy environment, as many of you know who work in the FE and skills sector, is a big focus on the learning and teaching side. But with this report that we wrote a couple of years ago, it was around the digital transformation of the whole college. So we're particularly interested as well in how institutions approach the whole digital agenda, how you can change culture within an institution rather than just the learning and technology piece. And that's a piece of work that we've continued. We're going to publish in a couple of weeks' time some really interesting case studies of what colleges are now doing in terms of learning and technology, in terms of learning analytics and big data, in terms of social media and a whole range of other things, some of these new trends that are happening right from the grassroots. So, as Ty mentioned, we wanted to bring all of this kind of work together under one banner called EdTech UK. You can probably see there's a bit of a trend in just kind of calling things as they are within our institution, so we don't take a long time to think about it. We take it to the board and we go ahead with it. So we created this new body. It started and it launched last year, but we've got this heritage of both doing some of the thinking, but actually doing some of the doing it on the ground as well. And the great thing that we've got is endorsement from government, but not necessarily the funding from government, because we feel that would hold us back. We've got an opportunity to have an engagement with policymakers early on in that process. So what's also powered us, and I think again this is the issue, as Ty said before, about doing things not necessarily by design, but actually the way things happen, was that we were then approached by some of the companies that we're working with to say, look, we really need your help. You know, we're isolated, we're a startup company, we're a scale-up company, we don't know where to go for help and support, we don't know where to go for investment. Who are the good people out there? How do we take our work abroad? How do we solve some of those marketing issues on the ground? So very, very quickly, over the space of 3 or 4 months, we had 25 companies come to us and give us a level of funding, seed funding, to kick off EdTech UK. I'm absolutely thrilled that 3 of those companies are from the north. You'll hear from them this evening. We want more companies to actually work with us, but the really critical thing is, it's about wanting and desiring to have the things that you want in the EdTech sector that other people have got in other bits of tech. So there's a huge wash of support for other organisations. And organisations like UKTI, who we work with very closely, sometimes those opportunities go to the bigger companies, not the smaller companies. So we're a champion of the entrepreneurs who really want to grow across the country. And over the last 3 or 4 years, we've helped about 400 to 500 companies, whether it be signposting them or working much more intensively with them. We've run trade missions, Ty's mentioned that, and I think it's actually, critical that we actually think about some of the markets that are there for EdTech, as opposed to some of the markets that are there for other bits of tech as well. Particularly the US is a massive market. So we've got a lot of experience of investors and other people in the US who we can put people in contact with, but also increasingly companies who are coming the other way as well. We've also gone to Israel, because I think there's some amazing places around the world as well that we can learn a lot from. So they've got an amazing research centre that's been going for 40 years around education technology research, into pedagogy, into the way it works. So can we also learn from other countries as well? And we've just created a UK-Israel EdTech exchange, where we're basically sharing lots of ideas, research and thinking between the two countries. That's Ty with the same shirt. As well as working on what we call the supply side, as in the companies and the SMEs and the corporates and so on in this space, we're also working on the demand side, i.e. the teachers and the educators. And one of the things I think that when we first launched a big program of work a number of years ago around the computing curriculum is, we've got this amazing opportunity, and yet a lot of schools aren't necessarily taking it by the scruff of the neck, because of a whole range of other pressures and a range of other issues. And so we were asked to write a guide at the end of last year to the computing curriculum, a really pragmatic guide for senior leaders. And it was really, really difficult to write. So we worked with BCS and CAS and a whole range of other organisations, the experts in the field. And to be frank, it was one of the most challenging pieces of work we've been involved in. And it's still evolving. How do you turn this great opportunity into reality? I think it's really, really hard. And I think there's some fantastic examples of where schools are doing it, but at the moment it's not necessarily being shared. I think it's a real challenge. So we wrote a kind of accessible guide, so that's sort of freely available out there. And for the last 2 years, we've made the decision to also work with BET, the big EdTech conference, to run the Startup Zone. So last year we ran the first Startup Zone, 40,000 square feet of space, totally free and open to everybody, working with 30 startups, giving them access to all the things that BET provides them for about a fraction of the price. But actually really loving, as Ty said, loving the startups and the innovation that's going on. We created that from scratch. So we did the second one, and we're hopefully going to do this in the third one in January next year. And as Ty also mentioned as well, we're involved in the education policy space. So a couple of months ago, we ran our first Education Summit North, where we gathered together lots of education leaders from across the whole of the north of England to talk about the future of education policy, a little bit about tech, but a lot about accountability, assessment, and a whole range of other issues as well, which we're also involved in. And we've also been involved through Edtechnorth in doing a piece of work around the talent and skills agenda, because again, we can't divorce the whole education technology conversation from the whole piece around talent and skills. And I think education technology is uniquely placed to have a major role in actually tackling some of these issues around digital talent and skills. So, when I met Billy and David a couple of weeks ago, I came up here and we were talking about the EdTech space, and particularly David was kind of, I guess, kind of quite new to the space, and we're talking about this thing. He sort of cut me off halfway and basically said, look, just hold it there. I've heard the pitch, like, it sounds good. So I might just have to believe you about the fact that EdTech in the north is amazing. So, you know, fine. But are you actually saying, could EdTech be the fintech of the north? I thought, Christ, I just could save myself about half an hour of pitching. And actually what I mean by that is not some sort of wild kind of like saying, look, what's going on with financial technology? is actually quite amazing, and it has the amazing potential to change our lives. In fact, is changing our lives at the moment. It's an area of policy that policymakers talk about a lot. We call it the F word, because it's mentioned so many times in policymaker speech. But guess what? EdTech has an amazing potential to be the new fintech. It could overtake it. It could be the thing that people get involved in across the whole of the sector. And that's something we're really excited about. So it's a new EdTech sector that's emerging, not the old EdTech sector where whiteboards and smartboards are forced into teachers' faces. It's actually about technology that works when you want it to work. It makes an impact on the ground. It's useful. It helps your workload. It gives you back time to be able to do the things that you need to do. And that's the kind of new era that I think we're moving into. And so the last couple of slides before I introduce Naomi, who's got another, I think, really interesting kind of dimension on the EdTech side, which I think is about to be kind of explored, will, I think, explode the sector as well, which is around data. I just wanted to sort of make, I guess, the case that I was making to David before I was so rudely interrupted and told that actually I should be talking about something completely different. And actually, guess what? That's the thing. We've got a lot to learn about how we present this. I think this is such an important sector, but perhaps we need to be a bit crisper about how we talk about it. Yeah. Final few things to say then. I think we're at the fusion of these four areas. I think in terms of policy, EdTech fits across a whole range of different government departments. So we spend a lot of our time talking to different policymakers in different government departments. And EdTech means different things in different places. I think that's really, really important. So whether you're a company, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a leader at a college, is actually understanding that kind of wider landscape, and it's moving it at a rapid pace as well. Just trying to keep up with all the initiatives and all the programs. But EdTech is the kind of glue that sits in the middle around digital skills, around digital economy, around digital learning. Another area that we haven't even spoken about is digital inclusion. The kind of learning tools that young people or parents or people who can't access any other kind of form of learning can actually access it in a wholly different way. Billy and others have spoken really eloquently about the big digital powerhouse, but again, the numbers and the data back it up. You can't just talk about this kind of sector without having the numbers and figures behind you. And what we know from TechNation, which I think is a fantastic report that comes out every year, is this is a vibrant digital economy in the north of England. It's also a fantastically vibrant economy in Cardiff and Wales, where I was earlier on this week. So some amazing economic clusters that have got some fantastic potential for exponential growth. And also, because I kind of read the report and just sort of look down in kind of the bits of it rather than just kind of look at the headlines and the infographics, there is something on EdTech in there. It was in last year, it's in this year. What's fascinating about this year is that the three biggest EdTech clusters in the UK are based in the north, out of the five. And I think that is amazing. And do we know where all these companies are? Absolutely not. Will this data mining that we've done with Edtechnorth and what others start to kind of uncover it? What I find really, really exciting is the idea that we could be finding amazing companies out there that no one even knows exists. Oh, what do? Turn up at BET every year and just kind of like, and then disappear? You know, do they like hide in Cumbria? Where are they? And actually, underneath the carpet somewhere, you then expose this whole sector to the learning technology sector. And I met the other day a $1 billion company that's in the UK. It's incredible. So the diversity and the provision, right from grassroots innovators in colleges, in universities, coming out of schools, in community learning, it's actually out there. And how can we kind of pull that stuff together? What was also really helpful, actually, we were asked to do a piece of work a couple of years ago by Innovate UK around a funding stream around learning technology, and we ran a whole series of events around the country, one in Newcastle and around the country as well, just to basically say, look, there's this thing called learning technology, you're part of it. And we spend a lot of time just saying, look, you're in EdTech. And they say, no, we're not, we're definitely not, we're in learning technology, we're in digital making. It's like, well, tough. We've redrawn the boundaries, you're in it now, whether you like it or not. Unless you want to be in fintech, you know, well, that's fine. We wrote a little report when we went out to New York, because again, the whole inward investment piece is also really critical. So what's been massively successful in terms of Tech City UK is also attracting other big companies in from around the world. But why would they come to the north? Well, because of all the reasons that Jen has rightly said, and all the fantastic things that Billy has rightly said about major economic clusters in the north of England that are actually fantastic places. The brilliant colleges, the amazing schools, the unbelievable universities. You know, I mean, university sector, God, that's a hard one to crack. But God, there's some incredible innovation going on there. And that's why I said this, you know, and some of the companies are here as well, you know. Just an amazing, incredible amount of talent that's here. We talk about talent all the time, but it's actually already here. And then there's the other issue, which is the other dividend. As well as EdTech, businesses, growth, there's also skills, but there's also education and learning. And no one in the room is not aware of the challenge around underperformance of some schools in the north. It's also the same in other areas in the south. Now, I live in Southampton, Tyler's in Brighton. There are some massive areas of poverty all around the country. It's not just at the north. But there is a big focus on northern schools. There's a northern schools powerhouse strategy that the DfE have started to put together. But again, guess what? EdTech can play a role in the right kind of way, trying to tackle some of these issues. So this is what we're going to do. This is our aim, this is our goal, this is our vision, is about actually creating a major EdTech cluster for the whole of the north of England with you, in partnership with you. We've got some fantastic companies already on board helping to support in a whole range of different ways. And also, it's actually about just getting on with it. It's not about waiting for permission from someone, it's actually just getting on with it, convening, gathering, talking to people, having events like this, having alcohol at the end. And so, again, to simplify it for us and also for the policymakers, we actually had to draw a front door and say, so what is it we're trying to do? Well, we're a front door for anyone who wants to know about EdTech. If you want to come and talk to us about investment or funding or policy, there is a front door. Sorry we have to talk like this sometimes to the policymakers, but there we go. It's a big door. Knock on it, come through. Come straight to us and we can signpost you through. It's about growth. It's about the economy. Because again, when we talk about EdTech, it sounds all a bit fluffy. It sounds all a little bit, well, yeah, it's to do with education and learning. Well, you know, it's not really going to grow into anything. Well, it's an enormous sector. We know it is. So it is about jobs and skills and growth. And that's what also turns the policymakers on. It tells the local authority, the LEPs and others on as well. But also it's a really critical element in terms of creating jobs all over the place. We want to take people on the road. We want to take people around the world. We want to go where people want to go. And that's also the educators as well as the SMEs and the startups. We've run lots of study tours. We've brought people to this country. We want to take people around the world to the really innovative places. And also, as Ty said, we want to take people to brilliant places around the north of England as well. You know, we know there are some amazing schools. We're going to hear from some in a minute. And some amazing colleges. We're going to hear from those in a minute. We drew a helicopter, because it was simple to say it's a launch pad. We want to create a launch pad, a space where companies can come to us and actually scale and grow, and we don't want to get in the way. We don't want to take investment from you. We want you to grow your business. We want you to be wildly successful. That's what we want to try and do. And the final thing is a little preview, as there was a little preview of an app, and this is very kind of a non-app thing, is that Ty and I have been working, as he said before, for about 20 years each or so in this education space. We've come across some amazing schools, colleges, universities over the last 20 years or so. We'd like to create an education foundation network of the most innovative schools and leaders that we'd like to work with. That also benefits the startups and the SMEs, because guess what? When they want to trial, when they want to test, they want to go with the people who actually got the passion and the energy. And guess what? They're already out there as well. And they're involved in lots of networks here and lots of networks there, but we actually want to really love the educators as well, because that's what we like to do. So, we need to think even bigger. That's just even a fraction of the vision that we want. We want to really put the accelerator down on EdTech UK in the north. We're really deadly serious about it, and we get stuff done. We don't want to hang around, we're not waiting for permission, we're just getting on with it. That's the way we work. Sometimes we make massive mistakes, like growing a beard when you shouldn't do one. But that's what happens, you know. You might reflect on it and think, you know, maybe I don't want to look like someone from the Great Bake Off, but that's fine. And then, yeah, but now we've got to act, we've got to get on with it. So this is a catalyst for change. This is the whole event. The reason for bringing everyone together is that you walk away and just think, actually, I want to do something now. Well, you can. You know, you can do that. So, join us, connect with us, support us, amplify through social media, share what we're doing, but I think there's a golden opportunity here, and we've got the data to prove it for those people who need the data. We've got the startups that we can showcase this evening to talk about that. There's also some really geeky, techie stuff, which Naomi's just about to talk about, which I think unlocks amazing things. I went to a session earlier on this week about blockchain. What does blockchain mean? I've not got a clue. It sounds really exciting. It begins with B. So hopefully we'll find out some more from Naomi about what all that stuff means. But imagine some of those adjacent technologies also playing a role in education as well. So thank you for your time. I really, this event has been, Ty and I have been itching to come here to launch EdTech UK. I'm absolutely delighted that you're here to help support us. So thank you very much.